Ever see a single move, just one change, completely flip a crucial moment on its
It
head?
happens, doesn't it?
Right. Picture this. A really tight football match, Premier League, tension you could cut with a knife, and then bang, a manager makes one substitution that changes absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Okay, let's really get into this because that's pretty much exactly what happened in that recent Manchester City versus Aston Villa game. City won it 2-1 late on.
And what's really fascinating here, I think, is how a game that was full of, complex tactics and clever setups ultimately turned on what seemed like a pretty straightforward player swap.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we've pulled together some great material. We've got a really detailed match analysis, Villa's own season review, which includes player ratings. It's quite interesting. A transcript from Villa's YouTube highlights showing the key plays, and a solid written match report, too.
Good range of sources there.
Yeah, so our mission today is basically to pick apart how this tactical battle was swung by that one key substitution, and importantly, what it all means for both City and Villa as their seasons are heading towards the finish line. And for you listening, think of this as your quick route to getting the story behind a really significant result without having to wade through hours of punditry. We'll give you the why.
And you need that context, don't you?
Yeah.
Because this wasn't just any old game. The stakes were, well, pretty high for both sides.
Hugely high.
City were pushing, trying to climb the table, maybe get back in that title picture properly, and Villa were fighting tooth and nail for a Champions League spot.
That's it. Going into it, City were fourth, right? But they knew a win could jump them up to third. Villa, meanwhile, were sitting seventh, right in the thick of that scrap for European places. So yeah, massive game.
Definitely.
So let's talk tactics, the initial approaches. Pep Guardiola served up something a bit different, didn't he?
He did, yeah. It's been called this unusual ultra-narrow 4-2-2-2 formation. Bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. What does that actually mean on the pitch?
Well, think of it like this. He basically jammed the middle of the park, packed the central midfield areas to try and just suffocate Villa's passing game through the center. You had guys like De Bruyne, Gundogan, Kovacic, Bernardo Silva all playing really narrow centrally.
Right.
With O'Reilly and Marmish providing the width, supposedly. The idea was overload the middle, make it impossible for Villa's midfielders to get on the ball easily, maybe force them wide where they're less dangerous.
Okay, so City trying to control that central area, and Unai Emery for Villa. We know he's tactically very astute.
Oh, absolutely. And he responded with what one source called a cautious tactical battle, which sounds about right.
So defense first.
Pretty much. Villa set up with a deep defensive line. Sometimes it looked almost like a flat back six. They were so deep and compact.
Wow, a back six.
Yeah, the goal was clearly absorb the pressure, let City have the ball in certain areas, and then try to hit them on the counterattack when they want it back.
Makes sense against City. But how did that actually play out initially? Did Villa's narrowness cause City problems or the other way around?
It's interesting. Initially, Villa being so compact in the middle actually gave City some decent chances to press them high up when Villa tried to play out.
Okay.
But as the game wore on, Villa really, really struggled to get out effectively. They couldn't build any sustained attacks. Having said that, their defensive shape was so disciplined, so hard to break down, it almost got them a point.
Almost. That's the killer word here. Let's talk key moments then. Because it wasn't all cagey tactics. There was that early scare for City, wasn't there?
Oh, right at the start. Yeah, the highlights transcript mentions Rashford hitting the post for Villa, like incredibly early.
How early?
Get this, 18 seconds in.
18 seconds, blimey. Imagine if that goes in, whole different game.
Absolutely. Fine margins, isn't it? Then, about half an hour in, City did manage to get the breakthrough. Bernardo Silva had a shot.
Took a deflection.
Yep, took a deflection. And Martinez in goal, Emi Martinez, he got a hand to it but couldn't quite keep it out. Maybe harsh. But some analysis suggests he might feel he could have done a bit better.
Possibly. Goalkeepers always do, don't they?
Yeah.
But Villa didn't crumble. They fought back, and then came the penalty. That was a bit controversial.
It was definitely a talking point.
Yeah.
Ramsey seemed to be clipped by Diaz inside the box. The ref initially waved it away.
Yeah, I remember that.
But then VAR got involved, had a long look, and eventually the penalty was given. The commentary on the highlights certainly seemed to think it was a clear foul once they saw the replay.
Right, so VAR does its job, depending on your view, and Rashford stepped up.
He did, and absolutely buried it. Cool as the proverbial cucumber was the phrase used on the commentary.
Yeah.
Great penalty, brought Villa level.
1-1. 1. And that really set the tone for the second half, didn't it? Because it became very, very tight after that.
Extremely tight. Like a stalemate, as one analysis called it. Both teams seemed quite cautious, maybe worried about losing. They blocked up those central areas again. It just felt like the game was sort of drifting, hanging in the balance. But neither side could really create clear openings. Very few chances.
Which naturally leads us to the benches, the substitution.
Exactly. Both managers looking for something, anything, to change the dynamic. Villa made a few changes. Asensio came on. Tielemans dropped a bit deeper. Malin was introduced. Seemed like attacking moves on the face of it.
Emery going for the win, maybe?
Ostensibly attacking, yeah. Trying to find that edge.
But it was Guardiola's move, just a single change that really made the difference.
It really was. He brought on Jeremy Doku for Marmoush. And the impact. It was instant.
What was the specific instruction, do we think? Just go cause trouble.
Well, what's fascinating is how direct it was. Doku was immediately sent over to target Villa's defender, Axel Disasi.
Ah, Disasi had just come on too, hadn't he, for cash?
Exactly. Disasi had only just stepped onto the pitch, and the analysis points out he looked, quote, vulnerable almost immediately. He hadn't found the pace of the game yet.
That's classic, isn't it? Target the new guy.
It is, and managers look for that. Someone fresh off the bench, maybe not quite switched on, not up to speed. Disasi probably didn't have that same sharpness or positioning sense as Cash at that moment.
And Doku, he just went for it.
Absolutely exploited it. The MASH report describes it perfectly. Doku just drove past Disasi, pure pace and dribbling, got to the byline.
And put in a cross.
Yep, delivered a cross right to the back post, and there was Matheus Nunes arriving perfectly to head it in. 94th minute.
Oh, 94th minute. That is absolutely brutal for Villa, right at the death.
Brutal is the word. And there's a touch map in one of the sources that really highlights this. It shows almost all of Doku's touches were focused right down that side, running directly at Disasi.
So it wasn't complex, it just bypassed all the earlier tactical stuff.
Completely. Just pure individual quality exploiting a one-on-one situation. It broke the deadlock, broke the tactical chess match.
So you have to say Guardiola won the battle of substitutes, as that analysis put it, just based on Doku's immediate impact.
No question. And the reactions told the story, didn't they? Described as a burst of light for City, but a massive gut punch for Villa. You saw Emery on the sidelines, just looked absolutely crestfallen.
Understandably so. And the implications are huge. That late goal, what did it do for the table?
Well, for City, it pushed them up to third, which was actually their highest league position since way back in mid-November.
Really? That long?
Yeah. And suddenly they're on this 6-match unbeaten run, looking confident. There's that feeling, one source mentioned, that the Man City of old are back, just finding ways to win again.
No, right when it matters. But for Villa, ouch.
Yeah, a really tough one. They dropped down to 7th. And maybe more importantly, they're now kind of propping up that mini league of teams chasing the Champions League spots.
And other teams have games in hand.
Several of the teams above them do, yeah.
Yeah.
So that loss, described as heartbreaking, really puts the pressure on them.
Looking ahead then, the run-in, how does it look for both?
City's remaining fixtures look, on paper at least, relatively straightforward. They've got Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, Fulham coming up. You'd expect them to nail down that top 4 spot now.
Okay. And Villa.
A bit trickier for Villa. They need to, as the report says, pick themselves up quickly. They've got Fulham, Bournemouth, Spurs, Man United. Some tough games in there.
Yeah, no easy points there. Every single one will be vital if they want Europe.
For sure. But look, it's really important we add this perspective, especially from Villa's own season review. Despite this incredibly painful late defeat,
Yeah.
their season under Emery has been, quote, a storming season. Massively successful overall.
Okay.
I mean, that review confirms they actually did secure Champions League qualification eventually after this game. They got to the semifinals of the Europa Conference League. They set a club record for home wins.
So this loss hurt, but the bigger picture was still very positive for them.
Absolutely. And key players had brilliant seasons. Ollie Watkins, incredible stats, 19 goals, 13 assists. Martinez in goal, McGinn in midfield. Lots of strong performers.
Right. It just really highlights how, even in a great season, one moment, one substitution exploiting one weakness can decide such a massive game.
That's the takeaway, isn't it? In a really tight, tactically complex Premier League match, it boiled down to one seemingly simple change. Guardiola bringing on Doku. Doku targeting Disasi.
And bang, game over.
That was the decisive moment. Swung the result, big implications for the Champions League race, even if Villa got there in the end.
So, for you listening, if you wanted that quick but thorough understanding of a key game and why it played out like it did, hopefully this deep dive has delivered that for you.
And it leaves you with something to think about, maybe.
Mm.
How often do these seemingly small things, a single decision, a specific player matchup, become the absolute turning point in high-stakes situations?
Yeah, not just in football, right?
Exactly. In any competitive environment, what sort of mismatches might be hiding in plain sight in situations you're watching or involved in? And what's the potential impact if someone spots it and, crucially, acts on it?
Good question. Something to mull over.